Come with me now. Come with me now.
Come with me now. I'm gonna take you down. Come with me now. I'm gonna show you how. Come with me now. I'm gonna take you down. Come with me now. I'm gonna show you how.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the third episode of the State of the Yankees podcast. I'm out here. This is Bobby in beautiful, sunny North Carolina. I'm here all alone today. I tried to get 3 different hosts. All 3 were busy. Andy's out. I got his predictions. He's busy. But I got his predictions for these games. We've got a great week coming up. Players Weekend is... We're right in the middle of Players Weekend as we're recording this. It is 11:26 in the morning on Saturday. I hope you're enjoying your weekend as much as I'm enjoying mine. And thanks for tuning in to the State of the Yankees podcast. Why not? Let's get right into it. Let's get my notes opened here. So on Saturday, the Yankees defeated the Red Sox by a score of 4-3. Todd Frazier was 2 for 4 with a home run. Frazier just keeps on hitting. I don't understand. Frazier, for a guy that bats in the lower part of the order, he's seemingly one of the better players on this team. But on Sunday, the Yankees defeated the Red Sox by a score of, the Yankees lost the Red Sox by a score of 5-1. The Yankees could only amount to 3 hits, 2 of those being from Brett Gardner. And speaking of Brett Gardner, we're going to get into him later. And for any wind or dog noises that you might hear throughout this podcast, I apologize. I'm recording outside because you might be crazy if you think I will ever record in a car again, especially in this North Carolina heat. Now on Monday, it was a game off. It was an off day. But on Tuesday, the Yankees won by a score of 13-4. Gary Sanchez got hot. He hit 2 home runs during that 13-4 defeat. Or 13-4 victory, excuse me. On Wednesday, the Yankees defeated the Tigers by a score of 10-2. Gary Sanchez hit another home run, and Sevy got his 11th win. On Thursday, the Yankees lost to the Tigers 10-6. Gary Sanchez hit another home run. And you see, it's becoming a running thing. It's a real shame that Gary got suspended, although he is appealing it. But if he does lose his appeal, he will be suspended 4 games. I believe, personally, that he will lose that appeal, because what happened during that game is unacceptable for any sport. Baseball is one of the friendlier games among basketball, football, and all. There's no, if you think about it, you have to tackle somebody in football. In basketball, guys are always out here cursing each other out, and they're always getting mad at each other for leaving each other's teams. In baseball, it seems to be one of those friendly sports. And I think this was completely unacceptable, the whole situation. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about here, I'm talking about what went down on Thursday's game, where there were 3 brawls. The first one was between Austin Romine and Miguel Cabrera. I think the only person that doesn't deserve to be suspended out of all of that is, there's my dog barking in the background. I apologize. I got to get him inside. But of all the people, I'd say it is Austin Romine that doesn't deserve his suspension. I think that he shouldn't even have to appeal. I think he should be fine. The fact that he gets suspended, whether he gets suspended a game, an inning, or a pitch, it's all bull. Because he was out there defending himself. Miguel Cabrera was out there running his mouth, talking big. He was being a big shot. And, so I just think it is completely unreasonable that Austin Romine gets suspended for anything. Because Romine, in life you're taught to defend yourself. Only Jesus is one of the real people that can turn the other cheek. There's not too many people out there that can just stand there and take... He wasn't going to let himself be bullied around by Miguel Cabrera. and I don't blame him at all. But 3 brawls in that game, a lot of suspensions. Yankees aren't going to have a catcher when they lose the appeal because they're going to lose the appeal. But on Friday, last night, the Mariners defeated the Yankees to open up Players Weekend by a score of 2-1. Aroldis Chapman blew the game in the 10th inning when he came on, and all in all, it was a good game. But Chapman has just had an impeccably rough stretch, and while listening to the game last night, typing up my notes, I heard this fact, and I spit out my drink legitimately. 22 blown saves this year. Could you imagine blowing 22 Zach Britton, the Baltimore Orioles guy, he's blown 1 save in like 3 years. Okay? That is remarkable how somebody is able to blow so many saves over such a course and such a period of time. It just baffles me. I am beyond. It is Eric Gange. Remember him? He had 70 consecutive saves. He holds a record. Could you? Mariano Rivera probably can't sleep at night looking at the closing situation of the New York Yankees. It is embarrassing that Mariano Rivera and whoever the hell is our current bullpen back end right now is on the same mound, because it's a joke. Our bullpen was critically acclaimed at this time last year, and then at this time 2 years ago, and now it's a joke. It is an absolute joke. It's embarrassing. It is frustrating to watch. Chapman is just sitting down making money for giving up bombs. He watches the ball off the bat. You can hit it out of the park 100. You can throw it 100 miles an hour, but it ends up getting hit 107 miles an hour. It is embarrassing how far and how good these players are. And they're just taking Chapman everywhere in the field, because Chapman is not the player that he was when he debuted, because more and more people are figuring him out. That's just like Tanaka. Tanaka was unhittable at the start of his career. He got that injury, people studied up on him, and now people can hit him till tomorrow, because there is nobody that everybody knows. Everybody knows exactly what he does. Everybody knows exactly who he is. Everybody has his number. But on Saturday, which is today, this podcast I'm shooting for up before the game starts. On Saturday, it is Sonny Gray versus Giovanni Gallardo. Giovanni has a 5.75 ERA. He is 5-9 on the year. On Sunday, Andrew Albers takes on Masahiro Tanaka. Albers is 2-0 with a 3.60 ERA. On Monday, that is a big pitcher's duel. He's here. On Monday, we've got a pitcher's duel. We've got Corey Kluber versus Luis Severino. Kluber this year is 12-4 with a 2.65 ERA, and Luis Severino was 11-5 with a 3.10 ERA. Now, that is a duel. That is Game of the Week. That is ESPN. That is MLB Network. Get that on every network so I can at least watch it. That's going to be a fun game to end Players Weekend. While we're on the topic of Players Weekend, let's talk about some of the players that aren't wearing cool custom names. The biggest one that I see is Brett Gardner. Now, some people will say, oh, why isn't Tyler Austin wearing one? Tyler Austin was on the DL when the opportunity came about, and he was not on the 40-man roster, much like somebody on the Phillies. His name isn't in my head right now, but he wears number 17, and he's just crushing the ball. You guys know who I'm talking about, but I just don't have the name right now. He was not on the 40-man roster during this Players Weekend malarkey. Starlin Castro still was. That's why he got his jersey done. And it works the same for the guys that were on the 40-man roster, because Tyler Wade had a jersey made for him, and he is now in AAA. He will not be playing this weekend, not at all. But Brett Gardner is very much against this whole Players Weekend idea. And his reasoning is that he loves the pinstripes. He thinks he's a very original, old-fashioned guy, much like my dad is. My dad hates every alternate uniform, so I'm sure he's having a great time during this Players' Weekend. Because I think the whole point of it is, and I know the whole point of it, is it's all advertising. It's all advertising. That's what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to make, life's all about how much money you have and how you make it. And this is the MLB making money because kids like the flashy uniforms, kids like the colors, that's why every alternate uniform is sold. Almost every team has there are 3 teams that I think of that do not have an alternate uniform, and those are the Yankees, the Tigers, and the Dodgers. Now, I think there's only 3 out of the 30 teams. So, Gardner is very much for the idea of just the home and road. He doesn't seem like too much of an alternate guy, and I respect that. So, he wasn't forced to put a name on the back of his jersey, which is totally fine. It's whatever they want to do. It's the Players' Weekend. If they wanted to wear pinstripes, they should have been allowed to wear pinstripes. But, the more money in MLB's pocket, the better for them. Anywho, Tuesday, we've got Trevor Bauer versus Jaime Garcia. Bauer is 13-8 with a 4.59 ERA. Wednesday, we have Ryan Merritt versus CC Sabathia with a 1.76 ERA for Ryan Merritt. He just pitched last night, as did CC Sabathia. Tuesday, we have the Yankees and the Red Sox Thursday. We have Yankees and Red Sox for the second to last time. This will be the last time at the stadium this year. Then they go out to Boston again in mid-September, I want to say. Mid-September, maybe early September again. Then the first 3 weeks of September. We've got Eduardo Rodriguez versus Sonny Gray. Rodriguez is 4-3 with a 4.01 ERA. It's just another series the Yankees need to win. We are currently on the longest homestand of the season, which is great for the Yankee fans. They need to come out. They need to support because this is clutch time of the season. This is high tide time where we need to be well. We need to score. We need to get in the offense. We need to stop leaving runners in scoring position because I am sick and tired of hearing Michael Kay run his mouth about how many people we leave in scoring position. We all know, and it's terrible, and we need to get out of that snap. We need to break that. On Friday, however, we have Doug Fister versus Masahiro Tanaka. Fister has had a tough season, and he looks to break out of that. He is 3-6 with 4.78 ERA. Around this time of the podcast, I'd be telling you how sweaty I am, but I do not have a drop of sweat on me thanks to this nice little setup I have going out here. We have covered all the games of this week, and we are only 13 minutes in. So let's talk about Gary Sanchez. Sanchez has had a pretty alright year. Let's talk about the start of the year. At the start of the year, he was obviously shadowed by, anyone would be shadowed by Aaron Judge, but figuratively and literally, because think back to last August, this time last year, he was hitting every ball. He hit 20 home runs in like a month and a couple weeks. He came in second in Rookie of the Year voting to Michael Fulmer of the Detroit Tigers. He's a great ball player no matter what. He had the great season last year, and now this year he came in and he was in the shadow of Aaron Judge, who has been doing excellent all throughout the year, and now he has hit a slump, which he is climbing out of. During this week, he broke the streak. The strikeout streak is now over, but I'm sure he's starting one very soon if he hasn't started a new streak already. It's just like Joe DiMaggio back in the day. Because after his all-time record hit streak, he then, once he went 0 for however much he went during that game, he got back on for like a 27-game hit streak. So his hit streak was virtually in the 80s had he sat that game. But yeah, every streak is bound to be broken. Nobody lives forever. And speaking of streaks, later today I will be watching the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, which I am more than excited for. You don't need my prediction, but I bet you want it. JK, but I'm still going to give it just to pass the time because I need to go at least another 10 to 12 minutes here. I'm going to go, if I was betting on this, I would go Floyd Mayweather. But I absolutely want Conor McGregor to win. And it's funny because during we're talking about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather on a Yankees podcast right now. I'm not going to go that deep into it. But this entire fight, I can relate it to a carpenter versus a guy that knows tools and stuff. With a carpenter being Floyd Mayweather, this is his craft, this is what he does for a living. And Conor McGregor just being a guy who knows how to do it, knows what's to do, but it's not his profession. After this fight, if McGregor loses, the way he's been hyping up this fight, I realistically can't ever see him coming back and fight. I think this would forever destroy his reputation if he loses in this fight. But even if he wins, why would he ever come back? He has defeated the greatest performer and the climax of boxing history. He has defeated the greatest fighter in the face of the earth. He has broken a 21-year-long streak if he wins. Why would he ever fight again? Why would he take a fight with Rafael dos Anjos 3 months after beating Floyd Mayweather? 6 maybe. Why would he ever take another fight if he beats Floyd Mayweather? It wouldn't be worth it. He would never make as much money as he makes on that night if he wins, which is tonight. And kudos to Dana White as well for promoting this and having these two guys in the same ring multiple times throughout. It was 6 weeks ago this fight was announced. Could you imagine? 6 weeks, 42 days. And we are here. It is astonishing how far we have come. But back to the Yankees. Gary Sanchez. Sanchez just does not stop hitting. And it's something about the month of August. I don't know what it is. But he has really turned it on. And we can't afford to lose him. Because I believe his suspension is going to be... Let me check my source. I'm going to say his suspension would be 4 when it doesn't get appealed. When he loses his appeal, rather. And his buddy, Romines, would be 2. Let's see. Gary Sanchez 4, Romine 2. Cabrera would get 7 games. And the fines went to the rest of the guys, which is Joe Girardi, Rob Thompson, Brett Gardner, Tommy Canley, Garrett Cooper, Clint Frazier. And it was a crazy fight, but Gary Sanchez, he's past the 40 home run mark now, and he's hit like 10 home runs this week alone. So Gary Sanchez has just been hot, and maybe I'm on the wrong track of thought here, but welcome back to the podcast. Had to take a 2-hour break, just had to get stuff done. But Gary Sanchez has just been on an absolute roll. It's something about the month of August. That was certainly the topic of this conversation that I was going through with myself, and only myself if you're just tuning in. It's just Bobby today on the State of the Yankees podcast. So let us just move on to the last licks now, shall we? Alright, let's go through last week now. Last week, predictions for the podcast were we both had Boston on Saturday. That was incorrect. Sunday we had New York. Tuesday he had New York. I had Detroit. Wednesday we both had New York. Thursday we both had New York. And Friday we both had I had Seattle and he had New York. And I am referring to Andy. Maybe this is your first episode. That is my co-host. So I believe, let's just look through. We both got Saturday wrong. We both got Sunday wrong. He got Tuesday correct. We both got Wednesday correct. We both got Thursday wrong. So, all in all, I think I won because of the Seattle pick. But that isn't going to matter. I got Andy's predictions before the podcast. He was unable to appear. But on Saturday, which has already started, unfortunately, Sonny Gray versus Yovani Gallardo, I am going New York, and he is 2. Because Yovani Gallardo has had a tough season. And Sonny Gray has as well, but Gray is just all in all a better pitcher. #pickles. Then on Sunday, we have Seattle and New York in the final for Players Weekend 2017. We both have New York. And on Monday, let me pull up his prediction once more. I am going with the Indians winning that game. And he is going Yankees winning that game. So, Andy is going Yankees. I am going Indians. So, on Tuesday, Indians versus Yankees, we are both going Indians. Then on Wednesday, we are both going Yankees, on Tuesday, Trevor Bauer, 13-8, 4.59 ERA, takes on Jaime Garcia. Then on Wednesday, Ryan Merritt versus CC Sabathia. Merritt is 1-0 with a 1.76. Then on Thursday, it is going to be Eduardo Rodriguez versus Sonny Gray. And let's see who he has. In Game 1, he has the Yankees, and I will go with the Red Sox in Game 1. And then on Friday, it's Doug Fister versus Masahiro Tanaka. He has Boston, and I have New York. So that's all for predictions. I gotta squeeze 7 minutes out of this. I really gotta milk the cow here. Let me think. Why don't we talk about the Yankees playoff picture? And first of all, thank you all for last episode getting 120 viewers. That was insane. We're only going up from here. Let's shoot for 150 this week. I think we're getting out there, really. It's the State of the Yankees takeover. And this week is going to be odd because I don't have a closing question for myself. So, I'm just going to ask myself a question. Now, let's talk about the standings. Yankees are in second. Let me just pull up these standings here. Standings are provided by yahoo.com. Thanks to them. As it loads. In first place are the 73-55 Boston Red Sox. The Yankees are in second place, 4.5 games out. 10-10 for Tampa Bay and Baltimore, and then 13 for Toronto, who is 60-68. The Yankees are first place in the wild card. Second place is the Minnesota Twins, and that is a big spot for them. They do not want to blow that because they have a schedule coming up. Let's just pull up their schedule. The Twins are currently in a series with the White Sox at home, which should be good. They're with the Blue Jays. They are playing the Blue Jays tomorrow. As we scroll down to the most recent games, the rest of this season, they are playing Toronto, which they are currently in a game in, top of the 5th. Toronto again tomorrow. White Sox in 3 games, Kansas City in 3 games, Tampa Bay, Kansas City on the road, San Diego for 2 games at home, Toronto in 4, Yankees in 3 on the road, then Detroit for 4, Cleveland for 3, and then the final 3 games of the season are against Detroit. So the only team that they're really playing that has a chance at all is the Yankees. So I believe it is more than safe to say that the Yankees have that spot locked up. The only problem that they're going to face is the Boston Red Sox. Because the Red Sox, they're inevitably going to have to face. And that's when it's going to come down to big time. That is when it's all going to come together. That is going to be the finale. That's going to be the be-all, end-all for this wild card. If the Yankees do sweep that series, if the Yankees even get a couple games, because let's just look at the Yankees' schedule now. The Yankees are playing Seattle. They're playing Boston. They're playing Boston again next weekend in New York. They're playing Baltimore. They're in Texas. Let's just see here. They're in Tampa. They're in Toronto. And they close out in Toronto. So the Yankees really only have no competition as well. So the Yankees, do they have a spot? I believe they have a spot. But, the Yankees aren't ever going to be in first again for the rest of the season. I think that is safe to say. It's unfortunate, but they are going to make the playoffs because the Yankees have an easy schedule for the rest of the year. It's a cakewalk. The only team that they have to play that they're going to struggle against, that they're even going to have to try against, is Boston. And Boston will still beat them. They're playing Texas. Texas is 500 right now. They're 14 games out. They don't have a single shot in the world. But speaking of just teams that are getting blown out, Houston is just taking over out there in the West. It's Houston in first. Seattle's 12.5 out. Angels are 13.5 out. Texas is 14 games out. And Oakland is 22 games out. It's just crazy. So I've beat the dog enough. Let's go to a closing question for myself. I've been snooping around this morning trying to find a question for myself. But speaking of questions, you can submit questions. We didn't get any this week. We didn't post in Question Op this week, which is fine. Just got to post in the Question Op next week. You can DM questions to @_Yankees.news_. That is where all questions will be seen and given to me and to Andy to answer. Sure, Andy will be back on next week. He's not sick or anything. He is just busy today. He's got stuff going on with his family. So, a closing question that I found for myself was, what do I think of the Players' Weekend uniforms? I'm going to be honest with you, I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's flashy. I think it's what kids like. It's all about having fun. I don't understand why it had. I get it. Why it had to be colorful. They did it the right week because this week is the Little League finale, if I'm correct. There's only a few little league teams left, one of them being from North Carolina. So yeah, I think it's a good move, good gesture. I'm sure MLB is rolling in the dough from it. Speaking of rolling in the dough, Dana White will certainly be rolling in the dough later tonight when you're watching this, because I already ordered the pay-per-view. I'm going to have a couple friends over to watch it. I'm sure you are as well. It's going to be a fun night. And I think kudos to the MLB. I think kudos to Rob Manfred and the MLB Players Association for that idea. I think they shouldn't beat it. I think that it should be special, like a once-a-year thing, just one weekend. Like, I don't think they should do, like, let's do, like, Coaches Weekend now, where, like, the coaches pick, like, the colors and stuff like that. I don't think there should be too many special occasions like that. I think the only time teams should need to change their jerseys is for Mother's Day, Father's Day, 4th of July. That should be it, unless we are continuing Players Weekend, which I think they absolutely should. But word of advice, I would not go with the same uniforms every year. I'd try to change it up as much as possible. Because if they're going for money, which it certainly sounds like they are, just go ham, go for it. I think it's a great idea. They're definitely making money off of it. So change it up every year, because the nicknames, Aaron Judge will clearly be there. Castro will be there. Like, leave the nicknames the same. The nicknames are fine. It's just effectively buying the same jersey from last year. Like, change up the design of the jersey. Like, make it the small Yankees logo this time. Like, the circular one. You know what I'm talking about. Just keep it cool. Keep it interesting. And with that, at 32 minutes and 29 seconds, I'm thinking that we should cut it off right here. Thanks for tuning in to the State of the Yankees podcast. My name is Bobby. Thanks for stopping by. This has been the State of the Yankees podcast, and we will see you next week.